Hey everybody, Avi Abelo from IsraelOnWire.com. Here in Israel, we just finished our 7-day celebration of the holiday of Sukkot, plus the 8th day celebration of Shmini Atzeret, Simchat Torah. And we are back. Holiday season is now over. We just had a month of holidays. Back to dealing with reality. Back to dealing with Israel elections. Right? A month ago, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was given the first chance to create a coalition by President Reuven Rivlin. Just to give you a recap how things work here, Israel has a 120-seat parliament. A government has to be made of 61 seats, a majority of parliament, for a very long time. There is no one party or two parties big enough to make a governing coalition of 61 seats on their own. So basically you have to have the leader of a party with the biggest potential to create a coalition to try to make that coalition. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had the most potential to be able to create that coalition, and he had a month to do it, but because there is so much animosity towards Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on some of the center-left parties, they basically nixed sitting with him at all, as well as some of them nixed sitting with some of the religious or ultra-religious right-wing parties. And after a month of trying to create a wide national government together with the center-left blue and white party, he wasn't able to do that, which we all knew would be very, very hard. And so in Israeli politics, if one person fails to be able to create a governing coalition, the mandate is given back to the president to then give to the next person to try to make that coalition. So basically, tonight, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu went to the president, Reuven Rivlin, and said, I was not able to make a government. Now you can give it to the next person, and the president will be giving it to Benny Gantz, the head of the Blue and White Party. Just a reminder, what is the Blue and White Party? It's basically a coalition of little to mid-sized parties that all came together with only one purpose, to topple Bibi. That's it. Other than that, they have plenty of things they disagree with. They even have some right-wing people in part of that Blue and White Party who used to be close with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, but they too got on the no Bibi bandwagon, so they became part of the Blue and White Party. So what happens now? Now Benny Gantz, the head of the Blue and White Party, he has a month to try to put together a coalition. But here's the thing. The center-left has less potential than the right to make a government. Why? Because Benny Gantz only has 33 seats. Then there are two other left-wing parties, Labor and the Democratic Meretz, which is really very much an anti-Israel party, unfortunately, anti-Jewish, Jewish value-based Israel party. They together are another 11 seats. That makes 44 together. And then there is the Arab Party, which the Arab Party is totally anti-Israel. It is 13 seats. So together with those, that is 57 seats, not enough to make a government. But there is also Avigdor Lieberman, the leader of the Israel Ba'aliyah Party. He is also anti-Bibi. He used to be in the right. He used to sit with the right-wing parties. He used to sit with Bibi for decades. He was always considered a right-wing party. He still considers himself a right-wing party. But today, he has aligned himself with the left to topple Bibi, and he has basically said no to every single opportunity to create a center right-wing government since Bibi would have been the head and would have continued as prime minister. The chances that a left-wing government that would include the 13 seats of the Arab Party can exist as a government with support of Avigdor Lieberman's 8 seats, which would mean a government of 65, is very slim. It would mean basically that this blue and white party shooting itself in the foot and basically saying out loud to the Israeli public, all means are possible to take down Bibi, even including the 13 members of the Arab Party, that they include supporters of terrorism. They include Ahmed Tibi, who has publicly supported terrorists, who was Arafat's right-hand man. He is a Trojan horse himself in Israeli government politic. And the others, of the other 13 as well, there are clear supporters of terrorism. Terrorists against Israel and the destruction of the state of Israel. For Benny Gantz to create a government, even a minority government, including those 13 Arab Party members of the joint Arab list, in a sense, is him basically telling the Israeli public, I am so willing to take out Bibi Netanyahu that I'm even going to include 13 people who will then be involved in trying to defend Israel by Hamas, who these Arab members defend, by Hezbollah, who these Arab members defend, and anything against Iran, who these Arab members defend. And all these Arab members would be involved with the secrets they'd be in the committees of the foreign defense and military and getting information, and they'd be basically feeding information of Israel's military secrets and information about Israel's military information to the enemies of Israel, because they work hand in hand with the enemies of Israel. For Benny Gantz to do that would be political suicide. He might try to do such a thing, but that basically means any potential for him to continue as prime minister, or for Blue and White to continue as a potential ruling party, will be shot, because most of the Israeli public will wake up to that treacherous, in a sense, act of including them a part of the Israeli government. Now, let me tell you this. One of the governments who've done the most for the Arab citizens of Israel is Likud and the right-wing governments. The joint Arab list does nothing to help its Arab citizens. They do more to work with Israel's enemies to defeat Israel and destroy Israel than doing anything to help their own constituents. But Israel's Likud party and the right-wing parties do more to help Israel's Arab citizens, Arab Muslim citizens, and Christian citizens than the joint Arab list does. So let's just put that out there. So then what's going to happen? So Benny Gantz is going to try to put together a government. The only way he could put together a government is, one, if he makes this government together with this joint Arab list and Avigdor Lieberman, who still calls himself right, even though he's done everything in power to stop a right-wing government from coming into power, because Bibi would remain prime minister. With him supporting such a government is slim to nothing. And the only other option for Benny Gantz and the Blue and White to create a government is if they pull away some of the right-wing members of right-wing parties, or if they succeed in having Likud members have a putsch against Bibi, so that then they have a different leader as the Likud party to then join and sit with Benny Gantz and the Blue and White, because Blue and White are basically about getting rid of Bibi Netanyahu. So if another leader of Likud takes over instead of Bibi Netanyahu, they would potentially be able to make a government with the Likud. Now, the chances of that happening also are very, very slim to none. So basically, we're in a situation where Benny Gantz, who is now going to be given the mandate to try to create a 61 majority-member coalition of Israel's 120-seat parliament, the chances of him being able to do that are less than Bibi was able to do, and Bibi failed. So what happens if a month goes by and then we see that Benny Gantz also fails? Then Israel is going to elections again for the third. It would be for the third time within a year, basically, because each time no one is able to put together a governing coalition. Now, the major difference of what's going on now from other times in Israel's history is basically a hatred and a desire to get rid of Bibi Netanyahu. Never before has there been such a situation where parties were not, basically banned the opportunity, the option to sit with other parties. It's always been on ideological terms of coming up with bargaining on how different parties can sit together. Never has it been banning parties because of a potential leader of that party until now, because the Blue and White Party of 33 seats and Avigdor Lieberman of 8 seats have basically made a pact to take down Bibi Netanyahu, it has been impossible, or it looks like it's going to be impossible, for there to be a stable 61-seat coalition government coming out of these elections, and therefore we're going to probably have to go into another election. Now, what's going to be the difference in a third election if we go to elections after another month of failed coalition talks? No clue. Obviously, one of three things is going to happen. Either the same outcome is going to come, right? It's already been 2 elections that Blue and White and Avigdor Lieberman have made a pact to bring down Bibi and have made it impossible to create a coalition. The amount of seats that went from here to there between different parties is very slim. Yes, some changes were made. Blue and White went down from 35 to 33. Likud went down from around 37 to 31. Avigdor Lieberman went up from 4 or 5 to 8. Right, little differences in parties, but basically the blocks, the right-wing bloc, the left-wing bloc, were pretty similar, even though slight changes here and there. How different will that look in a third election? Might not look different at all. Therefore saying, well, what is a third election going to do? What difference can it make? The only major difference that can come around if it's a third election is if, one, people are so sick of one of either two things, either sick of Blue and White and Avigdor Lieberman basically sticking Israel in this situation because of their hatred to bring down Bibi Netanyahu, and therefore Likud and the right-wing government, the right-wing parties get enough votes to be able to safely make a government, that they won't be in such a situation again, or the left that wants to bring down Bibi and Avigdor Lieberman do such a good job of convincing Israelis that the reason we're in this situation is Bibi, right? Because they just want to get rid of him, and he's the one who's the problem. That even more people swing to center-left parties or Avigdor Lieberman's party in a third election so that they have over 61 seats to be able to make a governing coalition of 61, not like now or the first round just a few months ago. That is the situation, and everything I've said now is basically everything I said right after the election results. Nothing has changed. It's all very clear. Again, the only surprise that can be is if somehow Blue and White makes a government either with the Joint Arab List, which one would be a horrible government for Israel because those are 13 parliament members who openly support the destruction of Israel, that wouldn't be included in a Israeli government trying to defend itself from Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran, that members of this party actually talk with and would be feeding in secret information about Israel to Israel's enemies. Horrible situation. Or if somehow Blue and White succeeds in pulling away some of the right religious parties, which also seems impossible because the rhetoric that Blue and White, Benny Gantz's party, has used has been with such hatred towards the right and the right religious parties, not seeing any way how they're going to bridge that gap to allow them to be able to sit together. That is the update. I have to follow up this video with another video, not now, the whole situation about Bibi Netanyahu. Why the left want to get rid of him so bad, and how they are succeeding in convincing Israelis that Bibi Netanyahu must go because of legal cases, and saying that he should not remain as head of a party or potentially prime minister because of legal cases against him. And just remember these words, deep state. Just like in America there is a deep state out to take down Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, so too there is a deep state using every legal trick for over 20 years to try to bring down Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and the left is smelling blood, and they think they're going to succeed, so they want to bring him down. Anyway, that is a whole video in and of itself to give some background information to all this. That's it. Please God, I just want to leave with a final positive note, regardless of what happens or what government we have, whether we have a good government or a horrible government, we cannot lose sight of the trees. We can't lose sight of the forest from the trees. overall, Israel, we are blessed to have a country for the Jewish people. Sometimes we're going to have better governments, sometimes we're going to have worse governments, sometimes we're going to have good prime ministers, sometimes we're going to have bad prime ministers. That is life. But overall, we are blessed to be our nation in our ancestral homeland with our own army to defend ourselves. And we will succeed good governments, and we will succeed and overcome bad governments. We have done it before, had bad governments who've caused tremendous damage and destruction to Israel, like the Rabin government of the early 1990s that brought on Oslo and gave our enemies, the terrorist enemies, guns that they've been using to murder us and help them destroy Israel, thanks to the Oslo peace process that just created more violence and more bloodshed and more terror. So yes, we've had bad governments, we've had prime ministers that have done horrible things that brought about much death and destruction to the Israeli populace. And even with that, we, the Jewish people, are a strong people. We are a united people, even through all the headlines and through all the problems with the politicians. The Jewish people on the ground are united people here in Israel. And there are plenty of Arabs also, Muslims and Christians, who are blessed and know they are blessed to live in Israel and be Israeli citizens. We will overcome whatever government and whatever leadership we have. Thank God we are home. And we will continue growing stronger and overcoming the weaknesses of our leaders and our government sometimes. And we're going to continue making Israel an unbelievable place to really be a blessing, not just for the Jews and for Israeli citizens, but for all of humanity. So that's the optimistic note I want to leave everyone with. Shalom from the ancestral and eternal homeland of the Jewish people, the state of Israel, here in the Judean hills. Until the next update, thanks for watching, everyone.